Hey, oh, finally. Can you hear me all right? Hiya. Can you hear me okay? Volume is low. Okay. Is that better? Alright, let's get this sorted now. So did you guys have a good Christmas and a good New Year? Hiya. Oh, mine was busy and hectic. Right, I've got 3 stories and you guys can choose which order they go in. So you guys can choose the first one. The Oppressive, Colourless, Christmas Eve in the Land of the Dead, or A Face Full of Bloody Ejaculation Smells Worse Than It Sounds. Which one first? Right, so we want Face Full of Bloody Ejaculation Smells Worse Than It Sounds. You sure that's the one you guys want? Oh, I haven't read any of these, so I don't know what they're like yet. Yeah, this stream works, finally. And yeah, the thumbnail does look awesome. It was sent to me by one of my fans. At least we know the alerts are working. Luckily you checked. Yeah, they are. They send me regular pictures of all sorts, hellhounds and some dog with like stag horns. That was a good one. It's a bit trippy, but that was good. Right, here we go. Face full of bloody ejaculation. Smells worse than it sounds. I forgot to turn my recording mic on. Oh, this is going to work for me one day. Face full of bloody ejaculation. Smells worse than it. Posted by Bloody Spaghetti. At the moment, I'm convinced my annoying hipster neighbour isn't so much of a hipster wannabe pagan who needs to be slapped a couple of times to regain his senses. The guy must be involved with some really sick shit. I doubt he himself can do anything at all. He's a wimp, a little loud worm with a tendency to skid mentally as he repeats the same insult over and over like a third grader. That said, his strange friends are probably the fucked up ones. I do not know how he didn't piss them off yet though. Anyway, this guy, Nicholas, yeah, I know, the Russian guy definitely has a Scandinavian or German name, right? Judging by his fashion choices, he's probably heard of Nicholas Kvarforth and thought he could pull off the same attitude. Too bad, Kvarforth probably can throw down and is at least entertaining with his shtick, while this guy is just a sad poser. Don't worry, I'm Russian too, and that's how I know he's not really Nicholas. So yeah, The guy's a total poser who is into ridiculous magic and other arcane shit that is as arcane and magical as my grandmother's homemade cold remedies, pure bullshit or alcohol. That fucking weirdo leaves bottles filled with water to be charged with moonlight energy. He also keeps holding parties or orgies involving goats by the sounds I keep hearing through my walls. I swear some alien creatures keep showing up at his place. I usually don't judge, but man, this is some next level hedonism. One of his buddies has a face that looks as if it is repeatedly beaten black and blue, and these aren't tattoos. Bloody fucker goes around speaking about all these idiotic traditions. Bloody fucker goes around speaking about all these idiotic traditions he's supposedly maintaining. A lot of the common neo-pagan stuff is entirely new and has nothing to do with actual tradition of anyone. It's kind of funny really, considering how the Russian church always sort of maintained a connection with the traditions of old. A lot of the saints they venerate are basically the old gods, given new names. A lot of folk practices originate in the old worship and so on. That fuckwit wouldn't know that, now would he? I'm sorry if I offend any neo-pagans, but many people in that crowd tend to follow made up new age fuckery. That's a fact. Anywho, I've had a bunch of run-ins with this moron about his awful partying habits, about his bottle problem, but the way he drives his car, a lot of issues. He's just a terrible person to live next to. It's gotten heated a bunch of times. That's why I know his mouth tends to jam on the same fucking phrase he'll repeat 1,000,000 times over, like a brain-dead little shit. I always held back. I know all too well that Nicholas is the kind of person to insinuate a fight, go down without much resistance, really quickly, and then sue. That's how it goes around here. Nobody fights. You'll either stab, shoot, or sue. You can't throw hands, so I couldn't throw down with that bastard. Until a few days ago, I had it with him. He was blasting his blackened folk industrial trance and chanting along with his friends like a bunch of dying apes. I couldn't sleep. It was a bad day for me. Old injuries were nagging. Work sucked and the weather was messing with my bones. I was in a foul mood, so I got out of bed and saw myself to his place in my pyjamas. Damn near slammed the door off its hinges with my fist and demanded that he turn off that fucking garbage he calls music. He started stuttering, as he always does, threatening me he'd beat my ass if he was alone. Started poking me and talking all that shit about my pyjamas, of all things. One thing led to another, and I punched him in the abdomen. He flew down, smashing his own face on my He flew down, smashing his own face on the concrete by my feet. I turned and walked back home, without another word. I was expecting one of his friends to come by and say or do something, but nothing came. After an hour or so of waiting, the anger had finally got out of my system, and I felt drowsy again. But by that time, the noise from the neighbouring house died down. The night seemed as dead silent as it should be. Went to bed as if nothing had happened. I had the weird... Yeah, if that troll comes back, I'll block him. Fun.rent. You know you're doing good on YouTube when trolls start coming into your stream. I'm going to hook you on the back of my chair because I need to get a drink. I forgot my mouth lube.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, looks a bit, she's bastard.
Come on, Cass. Cassie, come on. Cassie.
But what you drinking? But wife's got me on a health kick.
What?
But wife's got me on a health kick.
Have you? Oh. I'm back. There you go. Got to put those arseholes in their place. Yeah, damn right. Yeah, bad lately. What are you drinking? My wife's got me on her health kick after New Year, so I've only got a pint of water. Yeah, over Christmas and New Year I was drinking Guinness. Yeah, my wife can't stand it. Cassie, lay down. I don't want to hear you bark and growl and grizzle. Right, where were we? There we are. Yeah, Guinness is the way to go. Yeah, one of them. A little Patterdale Terrier. More of a baby than a hellhound. Two. Yeah. Oh, cool. I've got my two little doggies and one little cat and a bearded dragon. had the weirdest fucking dream. I don't remember too much of it, but what I remember was doing random everyday stuff. Surprisingly, I was fully aware that it was a dream, as long as I was performing my daily routine until it's time to come back from work. Then I felt something was wrong. You know, that really shitty feeling of anticipating something awful to happen. A sort of fear that feels like claws grasping at you and squeezing your chest really tight. This is what I felt. I come back home, throw my pack on the balcony, as I always do, and I head to my room, and that's when everything goes absolutely mental. A buzzsaw goes off in my head, and I see this blonde woman sitting on my bed. I had no idea who the fuck she is, but we're talking as if we're familiar, and I call her Shura, which is the name of an actual friend of mine, but she looks nothing like this woman. The woman's threatening me with unintelligible gibberish. I brush her off and leave my room. No, just ran the house when I have her out from time to time. What'd you do to your neck? The next thing I know, I'm walking outside, heading home again. I get home, and the awful feeling is back. Pins and needles pricking at my skin, heavy breathing, and just dread, pure dread. I see something foggy fly into my room, and I follow it straight into the closet. The next thing I see is myself standing by the closet, anticipating a monster to crawl out. My heartbeat is through the roof. My skin is crawling, and I call out, Shura! And the closet door slides open, slowly, nearly giving me a heart attack. This weird-faced Labrador with excessively long fur on its back that looks almost like a hair cape crawls out and starts wagging its tail. The animal's eyes were pure fucking white orbs. They were like twin portals into the bowels of perdition. The weirdest thing about dreams is when you recognize it's a dream and you're stuck between the in-dream emotional state and the understanding that it's not real, and you kind of feel hopeless It was one of those. After the dog thing came out of my closet, I find myself semi-awake in my bed. Maybe, I don't know. It was this quick moment in the darkness, and then the dream repeated itself. This time more intensely, with me yelling out Shura's name, louder, more fearfully, and then again. A weird moment in between the realms, in pitch blackness, and then I'm dreaming this same thing again. I know it's all a dream, and yet I still can't shake off the awful feelings and the absurdness and confusion of it all. The third time, as I screamed Shura's name, I was sure I was going to wake up, but that dog thing simply crawled out of my closet again, and that's when I understood what the fuck she was saying. Something about turning into a wolf and eating my face off. I woke up feeling confused and genuinely shaken. Usually my dreams are fucking weird, but I don't wake up feeling shaken. Some mad dream about a Labrador woman who's supposed to be in the likeness of my friend, but looks nothing like her. I have no idea. I woke up with a massive headache and carried on with my day. Nearly forgot about the incident that night, but then one of my neighbours told me that Nicky broke his face. I wanted to tell him it was my doing, but then I thought it wasn't worth it. Nobody likes the fucker. But there was no point in bragging. I'd realised I might hear from the cops sometime soon, but I could never imagine I'll be seeing the uniforms for what ended up happening. About that woman in my dream. This Tuesday I came back from work, tossed my pack on the balcony and headed to my room. Once there, my heart skipped a bit. The window was open, and I clearly remember closing it. Before heading to work, the icy winter breeze sent chills down my spine, and the sickening feeling of fingers touching the inside of my throat strangled me as I shifted my gaze towards the partially opened closet. I tensed up as I walked towards the closet, cautiously placing my head on the closet as the fingers in my throat became a lump of dread and saliva. My ribs were crushing my lungs as the unexplainable fear ate away at my mind. It was nothing, just a coincidence, right? I swung the closet door open. The stench nearly knocked me out. In my closet there was a ball-shaped object wrapped in bloody semen-soaked newspapers. The stench of that was almost bad enough to negate my anxiety. Sadly, it wasn't, and I forced myself to pull off the filthy newspapers, nearly throwing up myself into unconsciousness. I wish I hadn't done that. Under the disgusting newspapers was the head of a woman, with one eye missing and a huge gash across the length of her face. It was the face of the woman from my dream. I was torn between feeling sick and being mortified, so much so that I slapped the closet door so hard it moved back and forth. A couple of times, a river of razor blades flowed through my throat as the closet door slid shut one final time, and I saw the head's remaining eye blink at me. Wow, that one was really messed up. Oh. Imagine coming home from work and finding a head in your closet. That'd be a bad day. Yeah, I've got a wife and 2 kids. Right, time to choose the second one. We've got The Oppressive Colourless by Bloody Spaghetti again, or Christmas Eve in the Land of the Dead. So far we've got 1 vote for Christmas Eve in the Land of the Dead. Anybody else want to choose which one? Christmas. So we've got 2 for Christmas. Right. Christmas Eve in the Land of the Dead. Right, here we go. Christmas Eve in the Land of the Dead, posted by J. Rubus. It was Christmas Eve, and I was working in the embalming room of a funeral home. The embalming room was everything the cop shows your grandparents. Start that again. It was Christmas Eve, and I was working in the embalming room of a funeral home. The embalming room was everything the cop shows your grandparents watch condition. It was Christmas Eve, and I was working in the embalming room of a funeral home. The embalming room was everything the cop shows your grandparents watch conditioned you to think it was. A cold, utilitarian space with puke green tiles on the walls, tiles on the floor, and harsh fluorescent lighting. A row of freezers were to one side, and an office area lay to the other. In the middle was a metal table where the magic happened. A large man with marble blue skin and a distant core. A large man with marble blue skin and a distended stomach was laid out like a Thanksgiving turkey in hell, a thin white sheet covering his privates. Christmas music drifted from an ancient transistor radio on a high shelf, and a snow filled the snow window. Christmas music drifted from an ancient transistor radio on a high shelf, and snow filled the soul window. Death never takes a break, and neither did I. I was in that morbid little room on the 4th, my birthday, and yes, Christmas. It was easy to lose track of time and your own sanity. So I tried to keep things festive. Aside from my gloves and apron, I wore a jaunty Santa hat with a pom that would hit me in the face if I turned my head too fast. That night I was alone, save for a body in the viewing room across the hall, and, of course, my current patient. The body in the viewing room was that of a youngish man in his mid-40s named Mr. Erickson, who died of a brain aneurysm. He was sitting down to dinner with his family when it hit. 1 minute he was laughing and planning Christmas for his kids. The next he was face down in his mashed potatoes, and everyone was crying. That's how quick death happens sometimes. I hope I don't sound callous, but maybe I kind of am. You have to be in order to do this job. When they wheel in dead toddlers, still in their Spider-Man PJs, you can't go to pieces, and you always focus on the little things if you aren't careful. One time, this little boy came in and he had a temporary tattoo of SpongeBob on his arm. You remember putting those stupid things on. You wet the sticker, hold it down, and then take it off. Such a wholesome image. And here the kid was dead. I don't know, maybe if I was a better writer, I'd be able to articulate why that sort of thing disturbs me. Since I have to say something, I'll say this. Kids shouldn't die. They shouldn't, but and someone has to take care of their bodies. Anyway, I was nodding along to Winter Wonderland and draining Mr. Thompson's blood when a loud crash rang through the empty building. I jumped a foot and inadvertently yanked the nozzle out of Mr. Thompson's abdomen. I fell back a step and bumped onto the machine. A sort of vacuum, wouldn't you know? It tipped over and the top came off. Blood swept across the floor like the Red Sea, closing the Pharaoh's army, and the nozzle fell from my hand, clattering the table. God damn it, I said through my teeth. There was a drain in the middle of the floor, so clean up wouldn't be that bad, but still. I was so worried about the mess I had made that it wasn't until I was filling the mop bucket from the slop sink when it hit me. Wait a minute. Wasn't there a loud noise? I looked at the closed door with a foreboding feeling. I cut the sink and listened, but heard nothing. I was probably one It was probably one of the coffins in the showroom. A few were propped upright, like those pigs you saw from the Old West. Some dead gun. Cool. Eh? Your phone got off, scared the heck out of me. What happened there? Some dead gunslinger with a dour undertaker standing beside him, like a fisherman with his prize catch, and sometimes they took a header. When I was finished mopping up this mess, I'd check it out. Pushing the wheeled bucket to the centre of the room, I started to swab the deck, whistling "Step Into Christmas" by Elton John. I'm real sorry about that, I told Mr. Thompson honestly. Sometimes I can be a real boob. He didn't reply, which is a good thing. You can talk to the dead and be okay. If they start talking back, though, you got a problem. I opened my mouth to say something else, but the words cut off when another sound came, this one quieter than the first. For a second I wasn't sure that I had heard it at all. Then it repeated, a soft, scraping sort of noise, like sandpaper on a block of wood. I turned to the door, and as I did so, I realised what it was. Footsteps. My heart began to race, as if on cue, the light seeping in through the crack at the bottom of the door flickered, like something had passed in front of it. My heart dropped into the pit of my stomach, and my hands tightened on the mop. Someone was here. My mind raced with 1,000 possibilities, each more terrible than the last. The funeral home wasn't in the best part of town, and crime had a way of, happening. Just recently, someone got faded 2 streets over, and a while back some dude slid by a crack house with an AK and dumped a clip. I don't know why anyone would want to break into a funeral home, but hey, here we are. The shadow moved slowly, the hissing sound of its dragging footfalls so loud that I could hear them over the pounding of my own heart. I lifted the mop like a club and licked my lips. I started to call something. Hey, buddy, I got a mop and I'm not afraid to use it. But that seemed really stupid, so I kept my mouth shut. The shadow passed by, and for a long time nothing else happened. Then I heard the telltale clunk of the rear door at the end of the hall opening. I waited a little while after I heard it close again. Then I tossed the mop aside and crept to the door. I pressed my ear to it and listened. Nothing. Sure that the danger had passed and that I absolutely wouldn't confront a junked out burglar, I flung the door open and strode out into the hall like my name was John Wayne. That's right, you better run. I swaggered over to the door and pushed it open. A cold blast of wet wind, driven snow hit me in the face, and I choked. The building backed up to a parking lot, and on one side a stand of trees separated it from a string of backyards, open to each other. I spotted a dark figure shuffling away, but as soon as I had a bead on him, he disappeared into the trees. I looked around, and there, in the snow, was a single set of footprints leading away, slightly smeared as though the perp had been dragging a broken foot behind him. A nervous laugh welled up from my throat, and I shut the door. Coward, come back and face me. I hurriedly shut and locked the door in case he decided to do just that. Better go see what he stole. The first place I went was to the showroom. Nothing was missing, and none of the coffins were upset. What did I hear then? In the next room over, I found it. A sleek pine casket lay on the floor in the viewing room. Its hinges snapped, and one of its two little doors standing open. Ah, shit. Those things were expensive. Even worse, what kind of shape was the body in? I went over and moved the coffin. What body? Mr. Erickson. He on the brain aneurysm at dinner was gone. I checked the whole room, even behind the door, in case he was playing hide and seek. No, go. He was nowhere to be found. I ran to the back door and threw it open. The rapidly falling snow had filled the footprints in just as cleanly as if they had never been there at all. A shiver went down my spine. Defeated, I went into the office to call my boss. Later, the police came back. And took my statement. Their theory was that someone had taken Mr. Erickson, and that was a good theory. What else could have happened to him? He didn't just get up and walk away, did he? Cue nervous laughter. On Christmas morning, the Erickson kids woke to find their dead father sitting in his lazy boy, facing the tree as if to watch them open presents. I can only imagine their screams of utter mind-bending horror. The cops said it was a sick joke of some kind, and left it at that. I bought into that for a long time, but it was bullshit. First of all, I saw one man. How could one man carry the corpse of a 210-pound man by himself? Bride over the threshold style. That didn't make any sense. It was possible though. I mean, it did sound like the guy was struggling to move. Something in the back of my mind, some dark, primal reptilian instinct, however, doesn't believe that. I know it's insane, but if you ask me, Mr. Erickson wanted to spend one last Christmas with his family. Well, imagine waking up Christmas morning, instead of finding Santa, you find some dead guy staring at you. Now what? You know I'm live.
Sorry.
The trolls, they come and they get permanently banned. No, that wouldn't be the best Christmas gift. Yeah, this chair, it creaks and all sorts. Well, it's either the chair or my bones. Right, the last one. It's only, well, this one's really short. The oppressive, colourless, posted by bloody spaghetti. Sheets stained with tears of a depressed soul, crushed under the weight of oppression, decimated heart collapsing in the grasp of loss and confusion, torturous dream encased in a mental fog. Follow the decline, fool. My Alexa just went off then, playing some sort of trombone. Oh. Yeah. The path leads unimaginably deep into a park. The path leads unimaginably deep into a part of endless black. This is getting ridiculous. Where the hopeless are truly alone, fading sweet memory and recollection, inevitable creeping death approaching, instilling a fear of sleep, an ever-growing shadow, a complete and utter desolation, emptier and emptier, gone. And that's all three of the stories. So what was everybody's favourite tonight then? That first one was messed up. Yeah, that one was. See, I've got to wait for people to post stories to my subreddit. And they're the three newest ones. Second one and the Christmas one. Yeah. That would definitely have been one heck of a surprise. 18 and 10. I suppose the Christmas one could have been worse for them. The kids could have gone into the front room ready for opening their presents, and Mr. Erickson could have said, "Merry Christmas, kids." Yeah. Gave up smoking about a year ago now. On the 1st of January last year. This chair really ain't flattering. That this chair ain't very flattering. Anyways, I'm going to have to call it there, my little hellhounds. It's 20 to 1 in the morning here. And I'm about ready for my bed. So this one will be up live for tomorrow night at 10:45 English time. I don't know what that is in other time zones. Wow, 6 in the evening. Alright. So, good night, my little hellhounds. Thanks for joining me on this live stream, and hopefully I'll be doing a lot more. Yeah, now I've worked it out, there should be more live. Good night, my little hellhounds.